Hi, John. So you got a couple of questions here. Let's start with the first one. So major differences between eukaryotic and prokaryotic cells. I've drawn out an example of both of them here. Sorry, I'm not a better artist, but eukaryotic cells, major differences is that eukaryotic cells have membrane-bound organelles and a membrane-bound nucleus. So the blue that I've represented in both of these diagrams is DNA, and eukaryotic cells have a nucleus that surrounds its DNA, and the DNA remains contained in that nucleus. You can see that here. So if you had to label that specific portion, you'd label the nucleus there. Some prokaryotic cells have DNA, but it's not contained in a nucleus. Other features that a prokaryotic cell might have that a eukaryotic cell may or may not have, usually don't have, is a cell wall, a capsule, and then the flagella and the pili. Your second question pertaining to atmospheric nitrogen and showing the electron shells. So we know that nitrogen has 5 electrons in its outermost electron shell, but it also has 2 electrons in that inner shell. So I've depicted those here. In the innermost shell, the 2 electrons, and then 5 electrons in the outermost shell. 2 of those electrons are an electron pair, which is why I've paired them together at the top. And nitrogen can make 3 bonds. So if nitrogen is pairing with itself, it's going to create a triple bond to itself. So if we add nitrogen and nitrogen together, we get a structure with triple bond, which I've represented with 6 electrons being shared between the 2 atoms, and the lone pairs for each of the nitrogens being separated as far away from that electron density as it can. And then the 2 electrons that are still in that innermost shell remain the same. They don't participate in bonding. And then your last question, as far as ammonia and water. So these would be the molecular structures of ammonia and water. Again, nitrogen can form 3 bonds. So if water bonds to nitrogen, if hydrogen bonds to nitrogen, each of the hydrogens is going to bring an electron, so they are going to share those electrons. And the same thing with oxygen. Oxygen can form 2 bonds, and it will share those electrons with hydrogen. And this creates a partial charge. So our nitrogen and our oxygen get this partial negative charge, and all of our hydrogens get this partial positive charge, which we can denote like so. And I believe in your question it asks you to label all of them like so. And then the last part of that question is to show how they would hydrogen bond to each other. And in this case, if we take this entire structure, rotate it, we know that this part of our molecule is partially negative, and these hydrogens on our oxygen, on our water molecule, are partially positive. So they're going to be hydrogen bonded or attracted to each other. So we can draw these a little bit closer to each other. And we can represent this with a dotted line for hydrogen bonds between our hydrogen and the electron density around our nitrogen. And there would also be some hydrogen bonding between the positive charges of these hydrogens and our negativity of the oxygen pair. Hope this helps. Good luck.